Back in the 90s, Japanese sports cars were thought of as soulless imitations of European brands. But through time and consistency, Nissan has built up nameplates that became classics and then legends. Nameplates like the Skyline, the Sylvia, the Fair Lady Z. What started off as underdogs became icons, earning their soul on toge roads, drag strips, and midnight streets. And now, the new Z carries that legacy forward. Is it worth your money? Let's find out. The Fair Lady. Here's a fun fact. When then Nissan President Katsuji Kawamata saw the Broadway musical My Fair Lady, he loved it so much that he named a car after it. And thus, the Fair Lady Z was born. Well, sort of. In Japan, the name stuck, but in the US, they ditched the Fair Lady name. Probably because they didn't think it was manly enough. It was first introduced in the US as the Datsun 240Z. Nissan created the Datsun brand to avoid tarnishing its corporate name while entering the American market in 1958. It turned out they didn't need to, because the brand was a success, as was the 240Z. The 240Z became a hit in the US. It delivered the style and performance of a European sports car at a fraction of the price. Its success laid the foundation for a long line of Zs. Each generation added more tech, more power, but they all shared the same DNA. After the S30 240Z came the 280ZX, the Z31 300ZX, and the high-tech Z32 300ZX. But that was the end of the line for a while. The rising yen and the SUV craze of the late 90s pushed Japanese sports cars into near extinction. Now here's another fun fact. The Lamborghini Diablo not only copied the headlights of the 300ZX, it used the exact same headlights. Ironic that the supposed copycat ended up being the one copied. Then came the comeback. By the mid-2000s, legends like the GTR and the Z were reborn. And by then, they had already earned their place in automotive history. Backed by a loyal fan base and a legacy that spoke for itself. The 350Z was launched in 2006, followed by the 370Z, and now the most powerful Z ever. The 7th generation RZ34 Nissan Z, which is not actually an entirely new car, as it's based on the 370Z platform. Now this generation of the Z is not actually an all-new car, but it's also more than just a facelift. As you can see, the body is completely different from the 370Z. You got a different engine, different mechanicals. The interior looks almost completely different, although a lot of panels are still the same. It's actually based on a modified version of the 370Z's platform, and some of the parts are shared with the 370Z, but in terms of looks and in terms of the way it drives, it is a very different car. Now, heritage is a huge part of the Z's design, and that's historically been true from the 240Z all the way to this generation. You get the same fastback profile as the older models. Now, this may be based on the same platform as the 370Z, but in terms of design, it looks more like the 240. This leaf-shaped headlamp is inspired by the 240. The pointy nose is inspired by the 240, and so is that controversial rectangular grille at the front. Now, I wasn't a fan of the grille when I first saw it, but it has grown on me since then. I think the grille of the Z Nismo though looks a lot better. It goes better with the curves of the car. You also get this hood bulge over here, which is also present on the 240Z.
Now this gets 19-inch staggered wheels. You have 255 40 series Falcon tires at the front and 275 35 series at the back. Now in terms of ground clearance, as you'd expect from a sports car, it is pretty low, but I think it's quite usable. The suspension is a double wishbone setup at the front and a multi-link independent at the back. Now this over here is my favorite angle of the car. From this angle you can appreciate the retro futuristic LED tail lamps of the car, which are also inspired by the 240Z. You get to appreciate these sensual hips over here, which I find really sexy. Ooh. You have dual exhaust tips over here. Both of them are real. You also have a diffuser and a rear spoiler over here. Now this is a fastback design, so this entire part over here opens with the trunk, including the rear window. And to open it, it can be quite tricky to figure out at first. The button is actually underneath the Nissan logo over here. You have to lift it from over here. Now space here is actually pretty decent for a sports car. It is quite long, it is quite wide, but it's not very tall as expected because of the sloping roofline.
But we do have enough space here for our sponsor for today.
Introducing the Atto Sport Mobility Scooter. The world's most innovative mobility scooter. It folds into a small suitcase size and it has wheels so you can move it around like a trolley. It separates into two parts. It has leather seats and grips, an illuminated LCD dashboard, enhanced lighting for extra visibility. You can install optional armrests. It's perfect for seniors as it's easy to lift and unfolds in seconds. It has a maximum speed of 10 kph, shock absorbing flat free tires, high ground clearance, advanced braking system, be free to travel anywhere, land, sea or air. It has 20 kilometers of continuous driving range. Engineered with flair, designed with passion for performance. Be active, be free, be yourself. Atto Sport, moving life.
Now if you've been inside the 370Z, this interior would look quite familiar. Like the 370Z, you also get a lot of circular elements here. The door openers are similar to the door openers of the 370Z. The cabin space is more or less the same, but this looks and feels a lot more premium and a lot more modern. Now the 370Z's interior was very plasticky. This has a lot more premium materials in it. Like the top of the dashboard is covered in soft touch material. This is leather wrapped over here. This is soft touch. This is leather wrapped. This is covered in some sort of velour-like material. These are leather wrapped over here. You got leather wrapped seats. You got a leather wrapped steering wheel. The seats are partly power adjustable. You can move it forward and back using electrical adjustments like so. You can also recline the seats using power adjustments. But you have manual adjustment for the thigh support and also the height of the seat. The steering wheel is leather wrapped. It tilts, it telescopes of course. You have paddle shifters. Now surprisingly, the Nissan Z comes with ADAS features like adaptive cruise control, blind spot warning, etc. Now I know most people would prefer to drive this on their own, but for those times when you're feeling tired, you can just turn on adaptive cruise control and let the car drive itself for a while. You now get a fully digital instrument cluster, which is customizable. You still have these gauges over here. You have a boost gauge, you have a turbo speed gauge. You also have your voltmeter over here. You have this 8-inch infotainment screen. It's not the most modern part of the car, but it's a huge step up from the 370Z. Now this has Apple CarPlay, this has Android Auto, you got a reverse camera. The camera quality is not amazing, but it's good enough. You buy the car for its driving dynamics anyway, not for the tech, but it has that anyway. You have your start-stop button over here. The seats are heated and cooled. You have your drive mode button over here. You have sport and standard. And thankfully, we got lots of physical controls here. You have a physical volume knob, a physical tuning knob, lots of physical buttons here for your audio controls. You also have physical climate control knobs over here. You have one USB-A port over here, one USB-C port. It looks like you have a wireless charger, but that's not actually a wireless charger. Your 12-volt outlet is underneath the glove box over here. The shifter looks like it was inspired by the shifter of the Nissan Kicks. It's mouse-shaped. Can't say that I'm a fan of it. I don't hate it either. Now the Z is one of the few modern sports cars that still comes with a manual option. So you can buy this either as a 9-speed automatic or a 6-speed manual. Now in terms of space, it is quite similar to the 370Z. The seats are very low on the flooring. I don't think there's a way to adjust the height of the passenger seat, but you can adjust the driver's seat. Now, I'm 5'8" and I have about an inch of headroom, or less than an inch. Now, this is fine when I'm not wearing a helmet. If I'm wearing a helmet, it will probably brush against the roof. Now, as far as practicality goes, you do have a glove box here, which is quite tiny. You have a bit of storage underneath the center armrest. The center armrest is leather wrapped. It can also be adjusted. You can move it forward and back like so. And if you move it back, it reveals another cup holder over here. So you have a total of 2 cup holders, one of which is hidden underneath the center armrest. You have decent storage behind the seats. You also have hidden cubbies over there for storing smaller items. Yeah, it's not the most practical thing out there, but you don't buy a Z for its practicality. Thankfully, we do get a manual handbrake, although I think this manual handbrake needs a bit of adjustment because it's pretty high.
The VQ. For nearly 2 decades, it was the heartbeat of Nissan's performance cars. From the 350Z and the 370Z, and even all the way back to the A32 Zafiro, all had variations of the VQ engine. It's a naturally aspirated V6 that has stood the test of time. But it's been more than 2 decades. The new Z needed an engine that has better efficiency, refinement, and power. The VR engine. For generations, Z cars gained power by going bigger. 240, 280, 350, 370. But you can't just keep pushing up displacement. Not when buyers also want efficiency. So the new Z is actually not called 400Z. It's just called the Z. The new Z has a smaller 3-liter engine, but it now has dual turbos. It puts out 400 horsepower, enough to propel the car from 0 to 100 kph in just 4.5 seconds. It's the quickest, most powerful Z ever. I remember carving through these mountain roads in the 370Z Nismo. I drove almost the exact same way, but when I got home this time, I wasn't nearly as worn out. And I still had a good amount of fuel left in the tank. The new Z is a bit of a paradox. In many ways, it feels more brutal, it's got more power, it's more tail-happy, more eager to break loose, but at the same time, it is also more refined. The suspension doesn't beat you up as much, the steering is lighter, and there's noticeably better insulation from noise and vibration.
So we have a lot more power now than the 370Z, but the power curve does not feel as linear. The torque does not come in as soon as it does on the 370Z, but when it does come, it's very, very rewarding. Now, the steering does not feel as direct as the steering of the 370Z. This has an electronic power steering system, so it feels a bit more numb than the hydraulic steering of the 370Z. Steering ratio is pretty good. There's no steering slop.
The suspension is noticeably softer than the 370. It's not boaty, just more forgiving. And honestly, I enjoyed driving this more than the 370. Because I wasn't really racing or chasing lap times. I was just having fun with the car. And the car is a lot of fun to drive. The power is satisfying, and the traction control feels less intrusive. On the 370, it would pull back power as soon as it sensed slippage. This can get squirrely quickly, but in a way that keeps you engaged and not frustrated. Now, I wish the exhaust wasn't so quiet, but that's something that can be easily fixed. Now, I don't mind the suspension, but I wish the steering gave me more feedback. But yeah, it's 2025, and asking for an old school hydraulic rack is probably like asking for a brand new flip phone with a headphone jack and a removable battery. It is not happening, sadly.
Now, is the car daily drivable? Well, of course, you know already what you're getting into if you buy a car like this. You don't have room for more than one passenger. Cargo space is quite limited. But aside from those things, it's actually quite daily drivable. And by that I mean it's quite fuel efficient. It's not tiring to drive. It's also more refined. I remember driving the 370Z to Rizal and back, and when I got back home I was tired. I drove this car to Rizal and back, and when I got home I had half a tank of fuel left, and I was still quite refreshed. So there's a huge difference in terms of refinement between this and the 370Z. Yeah, this is definitely easier to daily drive than the 370Z. Now, as you would expect from a sports car, it is quite low. But as long as you know how to do the Shetty maneuver, you can clear most entrances and road humps. Now, is this the kind of car that I would entrust to a newbie? Hard to say. It can get quite tail happy, especially on wet roads like this. And if you're not used to driving a high-powered rear-wheel drive car, it may take some people by surprise. There's definitely a huge difference in refinement between this car and the 370Z. This feels more like a GT. This is more comfortable. It has better noise insulation. The steering of this generation is lighter, and it also feels a bit more numb, which is great for heavy traffic like this. Now, surprisingly, the Z also comes with advanced driver assist features like adaptive cruise control. Like right now, my right foot is not doing anything. The vehicle is automatically speeding up and slowing down on its own, depending on the speed of traffic ahead of me. So good, I love it. You also get autonomous braking, you get blind spot monitoring. I mean, these features I think are essential for family cars. For a sports car like this, I wouldn't call them essential, but they're also nice to have for those times when you just want to take a break from driving.
Drive the Z sensibly and you'll actually get decent numbers. I got 8 kpl in the city and about 14 kpl on the highway. But the right pedal, it's like a dopamine dispenser. So driving the car sensibly can be a real challenge. In the US, the Z competes with the likes of the Supra and the BMW Z4. In the Philippines, the Z sells for 3.97 million pesos, which is a lot less expensive than the local Supra and the base model Z4. The Z doesn't sound as good as the Supra. The steering isn't as sharp as the Z4, but for 1 to 1.5 million pesos less, it makes a pretty compelling argument. And that's money that you could spend on mods to make the Z truly yours. The Mustang GT would be its closest competitor when pricing is considered, but that is a bigger and heavier car, and despite having more power, it's just as quick as the Z in a straight line. So is the new Z perfect? No, but it doesn't have to be. What it delivers is emotion. The kind you feel in your gut, in your chest, and the moment you lay your eyes on it. It respects its heritage while giving you just enough modern polish to make it livable day in and day out. And amid Nissan's financial woes, may it be a reminder that passion projects still matter. Because cars built with heart don't just sell units, they build communities, spark memories, and create the kind of loyalty that money can't buy. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing as I've got more in store. I'll see you in the next one.